Hello and welcome to a very special episode of GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by Bet UK, because this is day one of the 2023 Cheltenham Festival preview. And I'm going to be previewing all of these races in the company of the brilliant Daryl Carter and Andrew Mount. And if any of the lads' recent form is anything to go by, we are already set for a fantastic week at Cheltenham, because last weekend's show, they're Bill Baxter winning at 7-2, tipped up by both Daryl and Andrew. Pay the Piper, placed out 11-4, tipped up by Andrew and Kate. Colonel Mustard, placed at 6-1, tipped up by Daryl, as his nap. Giorgio Vasari, 15-2, placed, tipped up by Andrew as his nap. The Big Bite won at 12-1, tipped up by Andrew. Gemaron, placed at 3-1, tipped up by me as my nap. Donny Boy, 12-1, placed, tipped up by Daryl. Under supervision at 3-1, placed, tipped up by Daryl. And Matata won at 11-4, tipped up by Andrew. Very well done, lads. Thank you for making the effort. Are you looking very, very smart indeed? So we better get cracking with day one of the festival, because we begin with the one and only, the supreme novices hurdle, this grade one for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles at 1:30, where Fabiolo Vega still holding on to that favoritism, but the bubble was burst somewhat last time out, Andrew. But what opinion do you have on the opener?
Yeah, the Fabiolo Vega bubble was burst, and but then he's come back in and been really strong in the betting this week. I think I did a preview note on Tuesday. We're recording this on Thursday. He was 7-2. He's now around about 2-1. I mean, I know he went too hard at the DRF, but to still come home last of the 5 finishes and be beaten 20 lengths has got to be regarded as massively disappointing. We hear time and time again that you don't win the Supreme off the back of a defeat. It was LeBake who refused, of course, did, but that's very rare. And I just think. I know the Woolly Mullins yard are sort of waxing lyrical about his prospects. He will see a different horse, blah, 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 but not for me at that sort of price. So I see no reason why Il Était Temps, his stablemate, can't confirm the form of that DRF victory. I mean, because he's very experienced. This is his second season over hurdles. He was 5th in the Triumph Hurdle last year. Seems to have improved for the switch to more prominent tactics and the hood this season. So winning twice. In between that, he chased home Fabiolo Vega at Leopardstown over Christmas, so comprehensively reversed the form. Last time out, I was really impressed by that performance, that win over in the pocket, and I don't see why he should be such a big price to confirm the form with his stablemate. So Il Était Temps for me.
Oh, 13-2 then at the current time of recording for Il Était Temps. So another Willie Mullins horse, but not Fabiolo Vega for Andrew. Daryl, who are you siding with?
Yeah, I echo Andrew's thoughts really with Fabiolo Vega. Obviously, beaten 20 lengths by Il Était Temps is not his true running. I wouldn't say that he comprehensively reversed the form in that regard. But if you go back to that Christmas run where Il Était Temps finished 4 lengths behind him, I thought it was a bit of a suspect run really, because Danny Mullins on Il Était Temps was looking through his legs behind him, and I was thinking, well, why are you looking through your legs when you just made up ground onto the leader's quarters? And I don't know, I just thought that maybe that they were kind of like, it sounds really stupid, but sort of allowing Fabiolo Vega a freebie out in front for him to go and win his race. I think Il Était Temps has improved. The slight concern is obviously the headgear stat for this race that no horse since flown in 1992 is one wearing headgear. So it'd be interesting to see if Willie Mullins takes the hood off. He was keen as mustard in the Triumph last year. I thought he did really, really well in the circumstances there. He's definitely a danger. But I can't imagine that Willie Mullins has got it that wrong, that Fabiolo Vega, that Il Était Temps is that much of a better horse than Fabiolo Vega. Obviously, he syndicated this horse out. So I do think Il Était Temps is a big danger. The one I've come down on is Marine Nationale. I've flitted back and forward for this race for quite some time, but I do have it between those three, Fabiolo Vega, Marine Nationale and Il Était Temps. Marine Nationale in the Royal Bond, everyone's crabbing the form where he only beat Irish Point ahead, but I would argue that if Marine Nationale would have went to win his race at 3 out rather than Michael O'Sullivan sitting in a pocket on the rail until the last, he would have won by a street. And I don't think we'd be crabbing the form as much as we are. Now, that race was actually, by the time they got to that 3 out point, they were 7 seconds ahead of Lossiemouth and the Hatton's Grace field. They came home much slower, but obviously Michael O'Sullivan was sat on the bridle. And he almost came to a standstill at the last, and then picked up Irish Point. I thought it was a good performance. The ground's going to be a big factor on the day, whether I sort of go and really back him, because I think he'll improve for better ground. And I think he's the one you don't have to make too many excuses for. So at this stage, with it being good to soft, in my mind, that Marine Nationale will be the one.
Perfect. And I'm in total agreement about Marine Nationale here as well. I can't understand why people aren't as keen on him as I have been for quite a while now, really. Maybe it's a recency bias as much as anything else, because, I mean, Barry Connell himself, he has been as bullish as a trainer could possibly be about this horse. And he has already said he will win the Supreme. And of course, when someone's that bullish, you tend to take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. But he's been right in every way about this horse so far. And he said, going to the Royal Bond last time out, and he said he will win that, and he did. And I totally agree with you. And Michael O'Sullivan, he is a phenomenal talent, and rarely does he get anything wrong. I still think the horse got him out of a bit of trouble on that occasion, because he had such supreme confidence in the horse going to the last there, where I tend to like to see races won before the last in case they make that mistake. And with a novice, you're always likely that they're going to ever so slightly fluff the last. But they talk
I
about
hope he doesn't do that here, Kate. I hope he doesn't do that here.
I really, my heart won't be able to if he does. Yeah, if he leaves it till the last at Cheltenham, goodness me. I think that was probably enough of a learning curve, though, not to hopefully do that ever again. But they always talk about how much speed this horse has. And I think that's where the confidence came from with him. The fact he sat there on him, because he just knows what a notable turn of foot he has. So luckily that turn of foot then got him out of trouble. And like you say, I know people are using Irish Point to bash Marine Nationale with, but I like Irish Point. I think that he ran a solid race in the Lawless of Nace over the further trip, and last time out then at Leopardstown he just wasn't put into the race at any stage.
Yeah, he could not have given his run in the DRF. Like no. the pace that they went in this Royal Bond, that just could not have been his true running at the DRF. So I would ignore that completely. And plus, this was the first time that Marine Nationale has been off the bridle, so he could be open to significant improvement.
Yeah, exactly. And like you're saying, he would have done so much learning from that anyway. So he's got the speed. We know he battles now. Hopefully, well, he does jump well enough. He just fluffed that, which any novice is entitled to do so. So yeah, Marine Nationale hopefully gets the better ground put away. And this has been the target then all over the winter. So yeah, for Marine Nationale, for both Daryl and I, right, we are on to the Arkle next. There is no better start to a day's racing than the first day of the festival, because after the Supreme, straight onto the Grade 1 Arkle Novices, chase for 5 rods and over 2 miles at 2:10. Now, if this race is anything like the Irish Arkle that we got, then this is going to be another belter. But Daryl, how are you playing the Arkle?
I'm really quite strong on El Fabiolo here. Look, I respect John Bon as I have done all season, but I just think that El Fabiolo could be a monster, in all honesty. That they met at Aintree last year. Now everybody's sort of saying that, well, John Bon was over the top from the Supreme run, and that's probably a fair comment. But El Fabiolo was stepping up from a Tremor maiden on heavy ground. He should have gone to the DRF, but was injured in transit on the way there. Didn't have a run for 3 months, was hampered twice during the race, and he wore a hood that day. So that was just his second run of his life. So I'm pretty sure he's open to significant improvement. He won at Punchestown last year, and then he came out of Fairy House on his chase debut, and he clattered a few fences, but he did it in no more than a canter. He was 22 lengths faster than the handicap winner on the card, doing it in a canter, who's rated 131 at that Fairy House chase debut. And then he goes to Leopardstown, wins the deepest novice chase I've seen for a decade in a blistering time, and wins it by 10 lengths. This horse is improved no end for going over fences. He's only a young horse. He's improved from 5 to 6. So I think he's strengthened. He's a big old unit. The way they talk about him is, the way Daryl Jacob talks about him breeds confidence in those that want to back him. And I'm not having the fact that people are just sort of crabbing his jumping. He made one mistake at the DRF, and it probably would have ended a lesser horse's race. And the pace that they went that day, I cannot see how they could go faster, in all honesty, in here. So for me, I think El Fabiolo ticks all the boxes. He's completely unexposed. There's so much more to come from him. And I think we could be looking at a very, very good horse.
Oh, he's currently the 13-8 joint favourite, along with John Bon, with those two having that intertwining form that you talk about, but not concerned about the jumping then for Daryl, for El Fabiolo. Andrew, who are you siding with?
I was tempted to go for John Bon because it's easier to say than my fancy, who's Sonnois, or Saint Roy, if you like. I thought it's a fascinating race, and it's I say with John Bon being very short in the anti-post betting most of the winter, it's great to see El Fabiolo sort of blast onto the scene with that impressive win at the DRF, as Daryl's made such a great case for him. I mean, John Bond, he's 3 from 3 over fences. He has only beaten a total of 6 rivals. Obviously, tiny fields. I mean, this could cut up. We had 4 runners in this race, didn't we, a few years ago? I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that again. Didn't like Dysart Dynamo. Didn't think he had any prospects of reversing DRF form with El Fabiolo. So if we're looking for an each-way alternative, as I am, Sonroy, who ideally likes to come from off the pace in the big field, he unseated, when still in contention, too far out to tell what would have happened in the Irish Arkle at the DRF. I just thought at the price is 9 to 1, I'd rather chance him to a few quid each way rather than back one of the front 2.
Yep, so going for the value then with Senoir or Saint Roy for us absolute commoners. And yeah, I think that's more of a way that I prefer to pronounce it. Right, it is time for the first handicap now in the form of the Ultima handicap, Chaser Premier handicap for 5 rods and over 3 mile 1 at 250. A wide open contest, evidently, Andrew. A race right up your street. So who are you siding with?
Yeah, this is a cracker. I mean, I need to do more work on this race, and I need to finalise my selection when I know the ground and the pace of the race. But I am looking at T Clipper, who was my sort of each way nap of the meeting last year when he got placed in this race. Obviously 12 to 1 in the end, I think, having been sort of 25s a few days earlier. And because that race has worked out really well, and received a few recent boosts as well with Oscar Elite, who was 3rd, and Our Power, who was 5th, winning recently. I mean, T Clipper is a horse who generally does his winning between March and October, ideally on good to soft or quicker ground. And last year they ran him in races that he couldn't win to give him experience over fences, graded contests on soft ground, and he picked up loads of prize money despite finishing 3rd or 4 or whatever it was in 1 or 2 of those. This year they put him over hurdles last time, didn't they? Behind Champ, he got beaten out of sight, but he picked up a few quid for his troubles. That would have kept him ticking over. He's had a nice break. He goes really well when fresh, and it's just a case of how soft the ground is. If they get the worst of the forecast rain, it could be soft heavy in places on Tuesday. It could be good to soft good in places. We just don't know yet. So what I do in this race will depend on a few other factors that I can't account for yet. But yeah, T Clip is certainly on the radar, as is last year's winner, Corach Rambler. I think probably my main fancy, or one of my main fancies for the Grand National this year. £6 higher than winning last year, but I thought he won with a ton in hand. I think he'll acquit himself well at Aintree. The weights are out now for Aintree, so it doesn't matter what he does here. But again, he's sort of 7 to 1, 15 to 2, something like that. So it's no sort of great advantage in backing him now. And Cloudy Glen, I was interested in. He's got some great form at this time of year. He was runner-up in the Kim Muir 2 years ago at 33 to 1 behind Mount Ida. And this season, we didn't see him until reappearing at Haydock last month, when he ran 3rd behind stablemate Quick Wave. That run was probably needed. And you just look at the colours he carries and who trains, and Felicia Williams does so well in the staying handicap chases at the Cheltenham Festival. I just thought Cloudy Glen, 22 to 1 or thereabouts, could run a big race as well. But I'll go with T Clipper for now. But please do keep an eye on my column next week for my final selection in this race.
Lovely. I'll give you 20 to 1 about T Clipper at the minute for best price as well. And then Cloudy Glen, 22, just as a note for him. And then last year's winner, who's the current favourite, Corach Rambler, for the £6 higher mark this time around to try and repeat the feat again. But yeah, as Andrew says, though, do bear in mind with the weather. We are recording this on Thursday the 9th. So obviously we have a lot of time until the Tuesday then of the festival. We had snow yesterday. We've got a lot of rain today. I'm 15 minutes from the track and I'm looking outside my window right now. It is bucketing it down. So the forecast has been changing the whole while. It still remains open to any amount of change. So do just bear that in mind. Watch out for the lads' columns. Daryl, the Ultima.
Yeah, me and Andrew are pretty much on the same lines. I think I like Cloudy Glen. Put him up last time for Haydock. He just travelled so sweetly. It did look, for a horse that's got such a good record fresh, it did look like he needed the run. And I did like that Kim Muir formula from last year. So yeah, he'd be certainly on my radar. And Corach Rambler is the other one I kept coming back to. I just think he's got you can make such a strong case for him. The fact that he won with so much in hand, as Andrew mentioned last year. He came from a mile back in the Coral Trophy and just looked like a well-handicapped horse still. He's £6 higher, 2 for 2 at Cheltenham. He's won 3rd time out for the last 2 years. He just ticks a lot of boxes. issue is I'm not sure whether I'm going to tip him at his current 15-2 if he is that on the day, or sort of leave it and then just sort of back him in running, because he's going to need some luck in running to come from the rear of the field. Now, I don't think last year the plan was to be as far back as he was, because I think it was a standing start, if you remember, and he didn't get going with everything else, so he was caught too far back. But I think there's loads more to come from him, and I would agree with Andrew. It'd be very much on the top of my shortlist for the Grand National as well.
Oh, and for the Grand National as well, like I say, his weight's not going to be affected from however he does then in this race with the big giraffe head on him and his bizarre way of racing, but it seems to be effective for him. So yeah, like I say, maybe to back him running, because you know that he's going to be held up and he's going to look like he's probably out of touch, and then come there rattling home. So both of you two in agreement on a wide open handicap there, which is a good sign for us. And now the brilliant day of racing on day one just keeps on rolling. It is one of the big ones there, the champion hurdle at 3:30, 4 odds and over 2 miles, and it's Constitution Hill, who just to show you, can you see that? I'm all ready. The only sure thing of the week, and I'm absolutely glory hunting. If I jinx him now after getting this done, then it's all my fault. I can only apologize. But he has been the short price favorite all season, but his price
You remind me of all those people who turned up the track with Quarto Star and Denman scarves, and then Imperial Commander went and won the Gold Cup.
The heartbreak of merchandise. I know, isn't it just the way? I thought you were going to say then to show up your own nails, Andrew, to show what you had then for a second.
Oh, it's my toenails, but I don't want to get my too cold.
They're in green and gold stripes on each of his toenails. What a lovely image that is for you to go to war with into the champion hurdle. Right. Constitution Hill, though, he's been a short price favourite all season, but it was obviously his price even more so shortened up then with the most likely challenger and dual defending champion. Honeysuckle hasn't been seen to the same effect this season. But Daryl, from a betting perspective, how are you playing this?
Cool, I'm undecided. I mean, obviously, Constitution Hill, I think, wins by a street. So I'm going to be looking at the distance markets. I'm going to be looking at forecast markets. I'm going to be looking at without markets. I think there's many ways you can try and play this. I kind of wanted to, if the ground had any soft in the going description, I wanted to place lay or like to move it. I know he's a popular horse, and everybody seems to think he's going to run into the frame. It was an excellent time figure at Wincanton last time, but I mean, I don't think the others in the race, First Street and Nappers Hill, gave their running. I thought Brandy went too hard on Nappers Hill. Thought First Street looked a mess in the parade ring, looked so unfit and just tired that I didn't think he gave his running at all. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination he's genuinely a 17-length better horse than First Street. So I think the market is sort of over-egged that performance. So I'm going to try and get him out of the places if there's any soft in the going description. Because I think the Irish couple are well ahead of him, but I would like to have a few runners running for me. So it will all depend on the final field. But Constitution Hill will win. I think that someone mentioned that the forecast Constitution Hill and State Man would be about even money. So that might be a way.
Really?
Yeah.
Geez, that's not a bad old way to play it if you're getting even money about that forecast then. But yeah, no room for patriotism then with Daryl. So I like to move it place lay at this stage. But do watch out again for the weather and the makeup of this race for Daryl. Andrew, who do you like?
Yeah, I think Constitution Hill is probably a freak of nature and will win quite comfortably. I'm kind of hoping that's the case. Excuse the background noise. That's the snow falling off my office roof as it starts to melt. In case you can hear that. I was thinking this in terms of betting, this might be the kind of race where the second best horse and the third best horse don't finish second and third, because they're the ones who try and serve it up to Constitution Hill, perhaps get in a battle from probably too far out and maybe have their hearts broken and finish unplaced. So whether State Man falls into that category or not, perhaps. Certainly, I like to move it. If he tries to make the running, that could be one who's vulnerable as well, particularly if it is soft and they go around the inside and the inside's not the place to be. It's one of those Cheltenham meetings where you see horses coming wide around the outside on the hurdles track, picking up the pieces late. So I'll be looking at, if Epatante runs here instead of in the mares, which is looking unlikely, admittedly, because of the current betting, then I thought she could pick up second place. Bear in mind, you get 95 grand for finishing second in the champion hurdle. You get 67 grand for winning the mares race. I was really hoping Echoes and Rain was going to be diverted here instead of the mares, with a view to being ridden for second place to try and pick up the pieces after the market principles get involved, in a battle. So, others who might fall into that category. Certainly Not So Sleepy has run with credit in this race in the last 2 years. I think finishing fifth to Honeysuckle both times, or fifth or sixth, around about 100 to 1. If it gets really soft or even heavy, then Not So Sleepy, we'd better equip the most to handle the ground. And again, he can be keen. He can go from the front, but he can also come from off the pace. And if they just accept that they haven't got a prayer of winning the race, particularly in a front running battle, maybe we can hunt round and try and pick up some place money. So if it was generally soft or softer, I would go Not So Sleepy each way to a few quid. But again, it's another one where you need a bit more work on the day, and hopefully Epiton comes here and goes to that second place prize money.
Oh, yeah, I think you might be lucky from the way that they supplement her for the mares, but she is certainly good enough. And that is quite a disparity between the two sets of prize money for winning the mares hurdle comparison to finishing second of a champion, but Not So Sleepy at this current stage is 200 to 1. So, yeah, what a way to play that race then. So there definitely are ways to play this race away from Constitution Hill, who we're basically all expecting to win. So I'm also just hoping he's going to win, or else we'll look very, very foolish for the entire rest of the week, because these will have 3 more weeks after the Cheltenham Festival to last until my next nail appointment. But anyway, right now, something we may not have expected at the start of the season, but one of the races of the festival looks like to be the Grade 1 mares hurdle for 4-year odds and over 2 mile 4 at 410. And it's here where we have Honeysuckle and then the aforementioned previous other champion hurdle winner Epatante, who has been now supplemented for the race. Still need to decide where she's going to go. Marie's Rock, will she run here? Will she go for the stayers? But it is fascinating, Andrew. So who are you siding with?
Yeah, looking at the latest exchange odds, Marie's Rock is 13 to 1 for this. So it all looks like she's going for the stayers now. So leaving the route open for stablemate Epatante for this. Epatante, is going to have a great chance. Honeysuckle seems a bit harsh to say her powers are on the wane, given that she's won 16 and placed twice from 18 career starts, but she perhaps is on the wane now at the age of 9 and hasn't looked quite the same horse. She won this, of course, in 2020, has won the champion hurdle in both festivals since then. So she's got a fantastic record of this meeting. She's going to be there or thereabouts, but you'd imagine there'd be perhaps just one a bit younger and a bit more progressive who might have her legs. Brandy Love, I like. Ideally needs to go left-handed. On her belated reappearance at Punchestown last time, she jumped out to her left. I think that will have put her spot on for this, so I'd probably just side with her. Love Envoy is another one whose Racing Post ratings have increased pretty much every time she's hit the track. I think it's 8 times out of 9 she's improved on her last time out, Racing Post rating. So she'd have a good chance for Harry Fry. It's a good race. I'm disappointed there aren't quite so many runners, because my usual tactic in this is to find a horse who's going to be ridden from off the pace to get into the frame at a big price. And there's been so many big price horses finish second, third, or fourth of this, but it looks like a sort of classier renewal and smaller field. We're going to get 8 runners, perhaps even 7. So I'll go Brandy Love over Epatante and Love Envoy.
Cool. 6 to 1 about Brandy Love, who I wanted in the Coral Cup. I wanted her to run in that, but like I said, I think she is going to go for the mares, unfortunately. So, but it's going to add to the spectacle of this race, though, Daryl, which again, as I say, just looks fascinating.
Yeah, it does. It does look fascinating. I mean, they've still left Honeysuckle in the champion hurdle as well. I know there's only like a 2% chance, but she could come out of here. Marie's Rock could come out of here. You could be left with Epatante and Brandy Love, and Echo's Rain at the top of the market. I'm with Brandy Love. I've been with her for most of her career, really. I thought everything was wrong for her at Punchestown last time. The market vibe, she drifted from odds on out to 13 to 8. I think she even nearly touched 2 to 1 at one point. They were desperate to get a run into her, according to reports. Tight right-handed track, inside track at Punchestown was not what she wants, but I thought she travelled well. I thought she jumped less out to her left on this occasion. I thought she showed a bright turn of speed to almost look like she was going to win the race. She traded very short and running 1 to 6 on, and she's going to be £9 better off with Queensbrook, who finished second in this race last year. I think she'll come on a ton for the run. She demolished Love Envoy last year at Ferryhouse, despite going right-handed. She's got plenty of improvement to come, in my opinion. Going left-handed, slight concern with me is her jumping. I must admit, when she came to the last at Punchestown, she put down on Paul Townend, and you're not going to be able to do that coming down to the last here at Cheltenham. So she will need to brush up her jumping a bit. But for me, she's the horse that's on the upward curve. and I think she's a cracking each way bet at 6-1, or thereabouts 11-2. I would take it now because you're going to get non-runner no bet, and you could have a couple of defect out of this and may not get free places. You'll get them right now, so back her now. I would.
Yeah, the race, like you say, could very easily cut up. So take advantage of the non-runner money back concession, 6-1, then about Brandy Love. Both of the lads on the Brandy loving then for the mare's hurdle. Now we are back in the handicap sphere now with the Boodles juvenile handicap hurdle, otherwise known as the Fred Winter, 4 4-year-olds over 2 miles at 450. And it remains a very open race, Daryl. So who are you siding with?
Yeah, I always try to look for a horse that could perhaps be placed in a Triumph hurdle in this race. I'm not a massive, I'm not sitting there worried about £1 or £2 really in the handicap. And that horse for me is Takao, who's been well backed at the top of the market. I thought Mark Walsh did a little bit of putting the handbrake on at Leopard Sat at the DRF last time. He just sort of sat there waiting for Lossiemouth and Paul Townend to come past. He must have been thinking, where are they? So he didn't ride this horse out. I know he's not been the strongest finisher, but he has been being handicapped, in my opinion. I thought his improvement between the last 2 runs at least is quite significant. He jumped so well, very slick over his hurdles. I think he could genuinely place in a Triumph hurdle on the basis of that run at the DRF last time. So I think off a mark of 135, top weights have got a great record in this as well, or a very good record of at least hitting the frame. I think he could go close. The interesting one is, or one of the more interesting ones is Bad for Ben Pauling, who's been really well backed. I've been on this. I've been doing the French form for the last couple of days, and the French handicap I think is in the region of like 137, 138. He's obviously off 126. He was entered in the Grade 2 on trials day. They only picked him up in January, but they decided not to go there. And I wonder if they sort of thought he was going to be well handicapped and sort of left that alone and saved him for this. Ben Pauling's quite a shrewdy. He was very impressive in France. The time was sort of like middle of the road. It wasn't much to shout about, but he's very, very interesting for sure. So I might just have a small cover bet on him. The others that have just crossed my mind over the course of the season have been Zanderbad for Anthony Martin, but his jumping really let him down last time at Goran and sort of gone off him a little bit. His RPRs are like £10 below his current official mark, so I'm sort of leaving him alone. Metamorphosis obviously ran in the race at Nace in that rated novice hurdle, which is like a few winners have come from that race and gone into this. I think that's overlooked a bit. That's looked into a bit too much in all honesty. It was a pretty slowly run affair. If he was being handicapped, I was sort of wondering why is he sort of being aggressively ridden out of the finish, and I didn't quite understand it. Boyka's in there. He's probably overpriced in comparison to Boyka, in all honesty, but I don't know if I could sort of see him winning this. So yeah, it's sorry to go on to Cal and probably a cover bet on Bad.
And it makes sense now that you of your sharp dressing, the fact you've been looking back through the French form, the French flair is obviously coming to the fore with the dress sense as well. But Bad then for a little play, but the main bet would be Takao. He is currently the market leader for in the same colours as last year's winner. Andrew, who do you like?
Yeah, I put up Metamorphosis each way in my GG column earlier this week at 33s and 25s. He's down to 16s now. I'm just watching the replay of that run last time up behind Sorrel. I don't quite know why Daryl says he's been hard ridden at the finish. He was given a take the Mickey ride for me, and it was first run for the yard. And it just looked like there's only 6 runners. How many can we steer up the back of in the early stages? And he's finished full of running in my eyes. And I mean, you just back any horse in the Fred Winter who's finished 4 worse last time out. You've made an absolute fortune over the years. There's 2 types of Fred Winter. I think we've had 18 runnings of the race now. I think something like 8 of them won last time out in a Class 4 or lower contest. The other 9 of them were, say, 4 worse last time out, quite often in a graded contest, that they would never put into at a big price. And only one horse doesn't fit that profile. That was the Nichols winner who came from France, where I think he'd finished second in his prep run. When horses who ran second or third in Britain or Ireland last time out, 0 from 151 in the Fred Winter. That's quite a damning statistic, and that sort of covers quite a few higher up the market. So I thought, Paul Nolan's got such a great record in Cheltenham handicaps. He rarely wastes ammunition in these races. He's had 18 handicap runners this century. He's had 2 winners, 20-1, 12-1. I mean, 9 of the 18 finished in the first 6. That's obviously significant if you're getting extra places. You know, one of those 6 places was 100 to 1 in a field of 20. You might even have got paid on the place part of that bet. So I think Metamorphosis is one of several who obviously fit the profile. But I thought he had a good chance. Sundial was a fascinating one as well. He was 40s into 12s at one stage earlier this week. A shrewd judge I know who did the weights, did the form after the weights came out. He was sort of saying if he gets in the race 40 to 1 is just insulting, and so he's been well supported. But I mean, you know, you could back every runner in this race over the years and made a good profit. So you know, I'd be avoiding the head of the market here, and it amazes me how every year we get people still want to back the favourite, the Fred Winter, when we've had a whole host of massive prices. So yeah, be creative. Look for a hold-up horse. Look for a horse who's not shown obviously good recent form. Perhaps Shed was another interested one. 2 from 2 left-handed. He's run about 25 to 1. Won a minor race last time out. But yeah, Metamorphosis the main play.
Oh, Metamorphosis. So a horse that's divided opinion already then. He's a 20 to 1 shot for Paul Nolan. But yeah, finally you two disagreeing. That's what I've been wanting for the last few weeks now. And we've finally got it. But yeah, and it has to come in the Boodles, of course, as well. Now the horse who I like, because after Brazil did me a turn last year, and I will continue to go on about that because it was probably my only highlight of last year's festival. So I'm aiming for this race again. My confidence has been renewed. And this time around, I really like the chances of Sir Alan, who he's won 2 of his 3 hurdle starts. He was a decent without being an outstanding flat handicapper, but he's already worked his way up to being a smart performer over obstacles. His second behind Blood Destiny in a hurdle debut was really eye-catching, and he proved that was no fluke by winning a Punchestown Maiden in good style, despite jumping probably just a bit bigger than ideal, really. And then his final qualifying run came at Nacer again. His jumping it wasn't the quickest as such, but he battled well in the finish. He stayed on strongly. That should hopefully stand him in good stead for Cheltenham. And he looks very fairly treated to my eye on a mark of 131. So there you go. There's a bit of discrepancy then for you with the Boodles Fred Winter. Now we sign off day 1 with the Grade 2 National Hunt Challenge Cup Amateur Jockeys Novices Chase. It never gets short of that title, does it? 4-5 broken over 3 miles 6. The not quite 4 miler at 5:30, where Gaillard de Mesnil has been a strong favourite for a long time now. But Andrew, how are you playing the race?
Yeah, I think Gaillard de Mesnil will win.
There you go.
He's got the experience, unlike some of his rivals, and he's had 8 goes over fences. He was 3rd to Long Presse last year in the Brown Advisory. He's been unlucky to bump into Mighty Potter the last couple of times. 2-5 was too sharp for him at the DRF when 3rd to that one. Still ran with great credit, looking all intents and purposes as though that race was used as a trial just to put him spot on for this. So going up in trip is going to suit him. There's a few viable each way alternatives. I mean, Churchstone Warriors, very consistent. I think he include his point-to-point form. He's been in the first 13 out of his 14 starts. Chemical Energy, given Gordon Elliott's good record in this race. Marla Mission, Ramillies. You can make solid claims for like the next 4 in the market as some each way alternatives, but I just think class-wise, Gaillard de Mesnil is probably going to be difficult to beat here.
The second season novice, Patrick Mullins, probably getting his way then and getting this horse to run here after we were kind of divided for a while, but it just looks like Patrick has just taken this race by the mantle and has said that he is running. And well, yeah, we're expecting Gaillard de Mesnil to go out and to win this, really, Daryl, are we?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, his 3 mile form reads 3rd in the Brown Advisory, 3rd in the Irish National, and a Grade 1 win. Before that, his longest trip was over 2 miles 6, and he won the Nathaniel Lacey over hurdles. There's no Grade 1 horses in here. I mean, people keep knocking him, I suppose, like by saying he's only won 1 of however many starts, but he's not been running over the correct trip, has he? So I think he's rock solid. He's got course experience. That 3rd in the Brown Advisory last year is absolutely rock solid. He's 10, 12 pounds ahead of most of his rivals. He's been lined up for this. Obviously, Patrick Mullins wanted him here all year. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why people want to try and throw away money trying to take horses like this on when everything's in their favour, really. In the without market, I'd probably have a look at Mr. Coffee if he runs. Yeah. I know he's a pain in the arse, and he costs you a fortune. But I thought last year in the when he was 2nd to Chambard, I thought Sam Wadey Cohen gave him too cute of a ride, trying to come there on the bridle with him, and then travelled so well in running. He must trade. I can't remember what he traded. I did have a look. I can't remember. He must have traded very short in running, and then he just couldn't get going quick enough. And Derek O'Connor got on really well with him at Utoxter. He still finished second, but I think the step up at the trip, the extra 6 furlongs would definitely suit him. He looks the part. He travels like a good horse, and I think if Sam Wellingham was a bit more aggressive on him last year, he might have actually won that Kim but he finished second. So without favourite
I've got the in-running info. Do you want to guess what price he went last year?
Yeah, did he go short?
Did he go higher or lower than 1.5?
Oh, lower.
Oh no, I don't know.
Come on, Dan, make it interesting. Higher.
Go higher. I'll go lower.
Go on.
1.6.
Did he? 1.6. There you go. Bloody, I backed him last year, and you beat me with Chambard, so that's just bringing back terrible memories.
Yeah, the pair of us who were on Mr. Coffee, and then Numbnuts there on 40 to 1 shot goes and beats the pair of us. So,
I mean, he's a great horse to have as a banker in the the exacta of the trifecta, I guess, Mr. Coffee, isn't he? Given those number of second places.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I don't, in all honesty, I think Marlon Mission, who's second favourite, I don't think he likes Cheltenham really. Beating 61 lengths by Chemical Energy, that was the basis that people were building Chemical Energy's chance in this race on, whereas he's already been well beaten. I know it was only a prep run by the Devil's Coachman, but he's been beaten 31 lengths last time, and it was only 3 rivals in that Cheltenham run he's had, and one of them we've not seen again. Who was the odds-on favourite? He was lukewarm. He was the third favourite in a free runner field, so I couldn't really have him. I think Mr. Coffee's got a good chance of hitting the frame, and in the without market, I think it'd be a reasonable price.
Yeah, let's say in the without market, but I think we're all on Gaillard and Mesnil to take the world of beating. But there are other ways to play the not quite 4 miler, the 3 mile sixer to round off day 1. So Daryl, I'll go back to you for your best or your nap of day 1, please.
It's pretty difficult because I've got my strongest opinion is on the John Bon El Fabiolo race, but I think in terms of you just want a winner to return smart, I think Gaillard and Mesnil's got to be it. He just ticks all the boxes.
Perfect. Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, again, you look at the prices, you think John Bon and El Fabiolo like 13 to 8 each, and you couldn't be certain backing one that the other one's going to not run a massive race. Whereas Gaillard and Mesnil at 6 to 5, you think, I'd rather take the 6 to 5 without a 13 to 8 shot looking like it's going to trouble me. So I'll go Gaillard and Mesnil as well as the day 1 nap.
Cute for the pair of you two then for your day 1 nap teaming up. I'm not going to further bolster that to make it a hat trick because I'll go Marine Nationale in the Supreme. He looks a very, very fair price to me. I think he's an absolute star of a horse. So yeah, not going for the Constitution. I should have got me black and yellow nails for Marine Nationale. Right, they are our best bets then.
I've got a black nail, but it's because I hit myself with a hammer a few weeks ago.
Well, some support that is right. We're going to have to find what horse is wearing all black colours for you then for the remainder of the festival, so Andrew can show his own support. Right, that's everything from us from day 1. Make sure you stay tuned for day 2.